Hi, I'm Mark Cleveland and welcome to the Lastolite School of Photography. We've got a great product for you today. This is the, in fact, if I spin it around you can see what it is. It's the Brolly Grip, so it's a kind of a handheld or a stand-mounted grip for speedlight flash. It also, we're going to feature the 20-inch shoot-through umbrella, that's the one we're looking at there. Or we've got the tri-fold umbrella as well, which kind of a pack away into your bag. So again, all based around the simplicity of being able to work pretty much anywhere with the minimal amount of kit that we need to take with us, and more importantly, of course, the pack away into the bag so we can travel light. So as you can see here, this is the kind of the Brolly Grip by itself. We're familiar with this kind of connector for the speedlight now already. We see that often on the Lollipop to do with the EasyBox hot shoe and some of the other product range as well, and this can kind of just be manipulated around to change to the kind of position wherever we want to put our speed light. So let's just fix one onto there for a minute. I'm going to, in fact, turn that back around just to here. And the reason I tend to work it in that way is so that we've got control of the kind of the panels of the flash actually on the back here, rather than pushing it around so it's on the top. We can't actually see what it is, especially if that's up on a stand. So think about how you place that more than anything else. So spin that back towards the side. And then what we've got is our kind of entry points here on the bracket to either take an 8mm Brolly shaft or a 10mm Brolly shaft. In this instance, we're into the 8mm. Let me just push that out a little bit more. Pushing that through. And you can see there, we're pretty much running. So we've got a lovely kind of a softness to the speedlight as well. So this might be a bridegroom coming down the aisle of the church, just giving a little bit of illumination, perhaps flash-to-flash communication, because most of the time when we're using flash, we are going to be in a dark environment. As long as this can be seen, that's one of the other reasons as well for this to point towards the camera position, is so that the flash-to-flash communication will work if we're not using a radio trigger of any kind. So that's the kind of the basics of it. Let's fold that back away a minute. And then, of course, we've got the tri-fold, as I just showed you a minute ago. Much, much bigger umbrella. Brilliant if we want to use that as well for perhaps a shoot-through. This one, for instance, is in the 10mm, so it needs a little bit kind of a bigger shaft with it. And that can either work as a bounce-back umbrella, perhaps. If we want to diffuse some of the light, so we're looking for minimal amount of flash. We don't mind some of the energy of the flash passing through the umbrella. Remember, when energy of the flash passes through the umbrella, the reflectiveness is very, very soft, and of course we're going to lose a lot of that power. So if we're in a very low light conditions, perhaps it's a winter wedding, kind of where you need a really a minimal amount of flash return on it, it's a great way to be able to light kind of small groups and so on. And of course this new accessory for most photographers, I think, based on what we can see is probably what my wife has had in a bag for many years. We've got a great kind of product that's going to just wrap up really small and go into the pocket of pretty much any photographer's bags. But I could go on about this, to be honest. I think we should go out on location, see how we use it. We've also got a little kind of cable here if we want to work in TTL. So, for instance, instead of using the flash-to-flash communication, I could just whip off my flash, pop on the adapter, tighten that up, and then once more pop the flash onto the hot shoe, just of the TTL. Then all I need to do, of course, is just pop on the bracket onto the hot shoe, switch on the camera, and I'm pretty much ready to go, whether it's direct, as we are here, or as in a shoot-through. The handle is really good for assistance, to be honest, especially when they're trying to control the light in a very specific direction to us, than having to kind of look along the kind of the shape. It makes it a bit like a trigger of a gun. So I think we should get out on location and just see how we use it. Let's get you up there. Yes, please. Let's go to kind of shape and things, really. Cool, that's gorgeous. Towards Carl with the head. Can you pretty much be tying your lace for me? Come forward just away from the middle. That's it. Leaning down, tying the foot. Keep it. Looking down to it. Get closer, Carl, just a touch for me. Use it in the left hand. To the window. That's it. Again. Back off a touch, Carl. Keep it. Excellent. Straight at me, please. Hands on hips. Up onto one foot on point. Head, please, Carl. Lower the chin more. Excellent. We could easily work that in a reflective way. So if I wanted just a softness, can I just borrow that a minute, Carl? Instead of pointing it directly at the subject, we could just turn that around and act as a bit of a soft, nice, a soft light to actually just fill in perhaps a little bit. Remembering the flash is still going to lose most of its energy going through the likes of the shoot-through umbrella, but it just gives us that little bit of control. Lower the chin for me, darling. One more. Looking down towards your knee. To your left. Excellent. That's a quick technique as well. We're using the flash, but with a CT gel on the front. Can you just show them that, Carl, a minute? This is a colour temperature correction for tungsten. And basically what we've got is the white light coming through the window. In fact, by itself, it's a beautiful light quality with no problem. I could just shoot that by basically in ambient mode, measuring the light source. That's 250th at 5.6. Switching off my flash. And basically, I've got a shot here, leaning in a little bit more, darling. Looking out for me. As you can see, I've got a beautiful shot, no matter what. But what we want to do is work against the light a little bit for a little bit of kind of power. But the technique that I'm showing you is basically using that colour temperature gel change. So in other words, it's correcting for tungsten, which turns anything that is white light to a blue. And it's a great technique we've used specifically in winter, like weddings, where I just don't want a kind of a cold white light coming through a window. I prefer to have an intensified blue light coming through a window. It's a kind of a cheap trick, but it really, really works well. So again, once more, we could kind of work in the same way. Let's go to 250th at 8 now. If you just come to this side, can you do that same shot for me again? Nice and high, Carl. So if I light a laner in the same way, there's a good thing and a bad thing here. Just looking towards me, please. Again, that's gorgeous. There we go. There's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is we've got light and we've illuminated it, but the bad thing is the light is on the wrong side, because we should always try and have the direction of the light source from the same direction that we would see the sun coming through a window. And as you can see here, we've got the light coming through the window on the left, and then we've got the light source coming in from the right-hand side. Just doesn't make sense. It starts to not tell the same tale. And this is where we call it crossing the light, and it's never a good shot, I promise you. It's different when we start to use accent lights and so on. That's what we're going to do in the next photograph. That's a different thing. Why? Because we're using it to create shape and harmony within the photograph. Whereas the key light, the main light, should always give us the definition and give us that beautiful transition from the highlight right through to the shadow to create the portrait. So, Elena, I'm just going to get you down to here, please, darling. Just a little bit. Carl, you're going to come into the well. If you can just lean with your back in towards there for me. That's great. Just going to be looking just towards Carl. That's gorgeous there. Let's do it. Quick test. And now, of course, as you can see, I've got that lovely illumination, but in all honesty, I forgot to turn my tungsten on in my colour balance, so that looks just really warm and yellow as if it was being lit by tungsten. But of course, I really want that corrected her to blue to turn that window itself, actually. So I've got a corrected colour onto her now. And we start to see that lighting coming through in the background with a little bit of a blue tinge, especially if we look down towards the floor. If I shoot the floor a minute, just in there of the feet, which is very cute by itself, you start to see we've got all that lovely kind of blue, the blueness. Just make sure you're lighting her for me, Carl. That's gorgeous there. Let's do it again. But if it's not touched by white light, as far as the tungsten is concerned, it's always going to give us that blue cast. So it's a really quick way, but remember to keep the light coming from the same side. I can cheat now if I want to. As long as that's on f4 still, I can raise my shutter speed without changing the exposure. All it's going to do is make the background or the light coming from the window less dominant. So it's a way to control the amount of the exposure being controlled by the flash. So in other words, our aperture is being set by the amount of flash going on to her, but it's the shutter speed, because I'm in a dark room, that can control the whole amount of light going through. So I just raise that up to 250th of a second a minute. Come closer, Carl, to the touch. It's brilliant. It's there. Keep it. Relax. I'm fighting against that light in the background, and now I start to bring a contrast in through to the image instead of what is close to a mushy light source. That's gorgeous there. Turn the head away to your left, please. Keep it. Relax. this is a perfect way to kind of explain the problems that we had here, reducing the light, and the problems we have here, not having enough as far as the detail in the ambient's concerned. And what I'm doing is I'm working in reverse. Whereas there I was shutting down the shutter speed to give less and less of the ambient light. Here I'm opening up the shutter speed to reveal more. Now be careful when you're working with very low shutter speeds in case you're going to get some of that camera shake I was on about before. But for instance, if I just do a quick shot for a minute, let's do 100th of a second at that f4 exposure that we're working on. So there we go, that's gorgeous. Keep it. You can see that pretty much the surrounding area, the benches and everything else, especially if we're in monochrome, as I'm shooting here for a minute, everything's quite dark and going kind of it's losing its tone. If I open that up, let's go down to a 50th for a minute, you start to see more and more of the overall tone within the photographs beginning to play its part. If I drop that down onto a 25th, we're going to have more detail, because more of the ambient light is being allowed to actually be absorbed in towards the scene. So it gives us a little bit more kind of control of the depth of the black within the photograph. This is a perfect way for us to show you the power of the Brolly Grip and its versatility. Just being able to grab it out of the bag, unfold it, put it into the holder, fix on your flash, and get shooting as quick as you can. That's the power of this. Even though there's other Lastolite products that will do a similar job, it's the flexibility and the immediacy of being able to shoot is key to many, many photographers. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to get Carl to work in a 180 degrees just to show us the different effects of where that light is going to be. So, Lane, I'm going to get you just looking at me the whole time, darling. Okay, so first of all, Carl is basically a 90-degree position to where model is and I am. Carl, just come around a little bit more. That's it. 45. Straight at me again. Up at the chin, darling. That's beautiful, just there. Now we're going to bring him very, very close to me. So he's pretty much underneath me. This is going to cause a bit of a flatness or a very flatness to the light. I'm just going to have to change my camera position a little bit because of the Brolly's in shot. Back off a touch with it, Carl. That's lovely. It's there. Cool. Keep it. But of course, that's going to produce a very, very flat lit and really not a flattering or a creative image at all. Carl, just move around towards your left more, please. More. He's back to 45 degrees now again. That's gorgeous. Little lean with the head for me, darling. Turn the nose around towards me a touch. More. That's beautiful. Just there you go. Keep it. And then the last shot is going back to that 180 position. And the 180 or the 90-degree position is pretty much more on the edge of the creative position for the light rather than the basic. The basic is 45 degrees. So let's go to the creative edge again, because what that's going to do is kind of split light going down the face. Now, if you think you can't use that position, you can. You just need to either move the camera position or move the subject's facial position. So in other words, he's looking at me now and really can't use that. But Elena, if you just look off towards the side, darling, there you go. Let's do the same shot. And that's beautiful. In the same way is that I move position just up a little bit more. Let me just move my focus position as well. And even though there's that big post in the background, we can still use it. Looking down just a little bit lower, darling. Lower the chin. That's gorgeous. There you go. You can start to see that's a far more creative style of the flash, but it's going to cause a little bit more of a black background or whatever. We can cheat again. Carl, just move around a little bit more for me. And this time, don't point it just at her. Turn the light a little bit around towards the background. That's it. So we're going to use a feather of that light source and allow a little bit of the light to spill past her, but we're still using that creative edge to allow a little bit more spillage. So that's a very cool way to be able to use the Brolly Grip. It's a great product that I've gone through for the versatile and the kind of the photographer who needs to get around and get it up and shoot in very quickly. And one of the benefits, of course, we've got with that Brolly Grip is it's allowing us to pretty much pack it in the bag, get on a plane and pretty much fly anywhere and be able to diffuse the light source. So I'm Mark Cleghorn for the Lastolite School of Photography. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.